Okay. Welcome everybody. My name is Julian Walker. I'm the director of the Development Planning Unit, and it's very nice to have so many of you on the call today, and to begin to meet you, and we hope to meet more of you in person at the beginning of the next academic year. Just to let you know that because some people weren't able to join at this time, and we want to give them the chance to access this information as well, this session will be recorded. And I just want to give you a brief overview before we start on the structure of today's event. So first of all, I'll give you a brief introduction to the department and to DPU 70, which is the 70th celebration of the department. And then we'll have an overview of 4 of the master's courses that we offer here at the Development Planning Unit. Then we'll talk a bit about engagement and practice and how, as students at the Development Planning Unit, you'll get the chance to be involved in development practice and some of the active work the department's involved in. Then we'll talk briefly about dissertations and the opportunities to do research as a student at the Development Planning Unit. We'll talk about development workshops, which are a collective learning event that we have that runs across the 7 master's programs in the department. Then I'll talk briefly about your careers prospects and the support that we'll give you at the department towards your career interests. And we'll end the session with some space for any questions and answers that you would like to raise as part of the session. So just to give you a brief introduction to the department and to think a bit about the status of the department in the world. So just to let you know, the Bartlett Development Planning Unit has been ranked the 9th best university in the world for a 2nd year in a row, marking UCL's 13th year amongst the top 10 universities worldwide in the 2025 QS World University Ranking. So that's something we're very proud of. And within UCL, the Bartlett, which is the faculty that the Development Planning Unit is part of, is ranked #1 in the world in architecture and the built environment for the 2nd year in a row, and remains #1 in the UK for the 10th year in a row. And again, that's from the QS World University Rankings by subject area. So that's a bit about our rankings. A bit more about the department more generally, because I know that rankings are not the only things that are important to you. So the Bartlett Development Planning Unit is an international centre concerned with promoting sustainable forms of development, understanding rapid urbanisation, and encouraging innovation in the policy planning and management responses to the economic, social, and environmental development of cities and regions, especially in cities of the Global South. In 2024, we're celebrating 7 years of the DPU as an academic department. So this is a really important year from us, looking back on our history and all the progress we've made as a department. Thinking about the DPU as a space to study and how it might compare to some of the other academic departments you're considering applying to, I think the DPU is a special place for postgraduate study for a number of reasons. First of all, we have a very strong practice orientation and we focus on actionable knowledge. So the kind of education and research we do is not about research and knowledge for its own sake. We're really looking at the place that this knowledge has in the world and the contribution it can make to the development of cities. And linked to that, all the staff at the DPU are very actively involved in this kind of research, in this sort of practice-oriented research, and also in consultancy and action. So what that means is the teaching and research in the department is embedded in a global network of partnerships with equivalents. So that means we have a long track history of working with organizations such as the Asian Coalition for Housing Rights or the Sierra Leone Urban Research Center, which means that your learning will be not just from us as academic colleagues and leaders, but also from our wider network of partners working in urban development in the Global South and across the world. So just to look a bit more into the Development Planning Unit, we have 7 master's courses, which are listed here on the screen. And in the rest of the session, we're going to go a little bit more into depth in 4 of those master's programs. So I'd like to start off by handing you over to the first master's program we're talking about, which is BUD.
Thank you, Julian. Pleasure meeting every one of you. Hello, I'm Giovanna Stolfo. I'm an associate professor at the DPU and program leader of the MC BUD, Building and Urban Design in Development. I'm very happy to present today, very briefly, the program, starting from our approach to urban design, actually from current urban challenges. As we all know, current urban challenges are massive, from unequal development, destruction of collective heritage, the impact of protracted conflict and planetary displacement. We live in a world that is increasingly divided and unequal. As some would put it, our house is burning, and this is a wake-up call to act toward a more just future. This means that we need to take action now, but also change our approach to the built environment, to development, to planning, in order to be able to resist, as designers, as urban designers, to resist unjust urban transformations, racial capitalism, and widespread coloniality. In our program, in the BUD, Building and Urban Design and Development, we are committed to address these urban challenges by equipping students with the necessary skills and the tools to address them in their future work. The program precisely wishes to provide students with a critical gaze and knowledge to look at urban crises and challenges from different perspectives, to analyze them deeply, to go to the root problem, problematize what seems to be simple issues. The program enables students to develop an ability to see beyond what appears, to scratch the surface of problems, and to trouble assured views of the world. Developing critical thinking means that at the end of the program of the MC BUD, you will be able to challenge notions such as development, South, modernity, sustainability, and so on. You will also have developed your research skills and an attitude that is deeply inquisitive. The ability not just to put forward good questions, but to question the question, including, in the first place, questioning what design is, its purpose, why we need design, and what design counts. Now, about design. To me, design is not a discipline, it's a concern. Design is concerned with everything, with the built environment, with the burning planet, with the broken relations, with the broken politics. Design is an attitude, a way of seeing, of acting and reacting to what surrounds us. Design is knowledge and is power, the power to reframe discourses, find the cracks in the system, and to visibilize hidden histories of oppression. Precisely, design is about justice. Our pedagogy is precisely centered on spatial justice, but spatial justice is not an object of study, but part of the enactment of the education itself. The BUD pedagogy is transformative of the student. To do so, we rely on critical urban theory, but also and especially on critical praxis, through a number of real-life social relational encounters that materialize in the space of the classroom, in the city, during visits and urban walks, and in the field trip destinations. Our pedagogy culminates precisely in an overseas practice engagement, which is an immersive journey of learning from places and people in Southern and Eastern context. From Brazil to Colombia to Myanmar to Cambodia, these are a few of the destinations that we went to in the past 10 years. Now, going back to my initial point of the urban challenges, remember that to address them, we need an interdisciplinary approach, meaning to properly look at the urban challenges, we need to draw from different disciplines and experiences, from planning to geography and political economy and political ecology. Across our core and optional modules, you will be constantly exposed to such different approaches within the sessions, within the seminars, and the reading lists that span philosophy, planning, feminist and post-colonial theories, decolonial and post-humanist studies. Not only we connect different disciplines to reframe and rethink what urban design is and does, we also embed theory into practice, because we think that theory is a mode of practice and that practice is always theory informed. We also constantly connect students with ongoing research and projects and with the messy reality out there, with partners, communities, and activities. At BUD, in particular, we employ a research by design methodology that is directed to understand the multiple crises of the present, the root causes of inequality, of racism, coloniality. This approach considers design as a site of political praxis and the urban project as a curating practice, as a way of caring for the urban, for others, for the planet. It doesn't really matter if you come from a planning and design background or not. If you are, we will probably work to dismantle half of what you've learned so far. Such a work of unlearning is not only aligned with the global effort to decolonize knowledge, but it is also very much embedded in our approach to design. And it is a collective unlearning and relearning, because we learn from each other. We learn from the communities and the cities we engage with. And such a learning is not just about learning something that is new that we didn't know before, but it's also about learning anew. In other words, it's not just about creating spaces to learn from each other and from places and people, but continually reflecting on the modalities in which we learn. You see, at BAD, students are not seen as passive, but as active learners. They are not bases in which we put contents, but partners in its creation. And we require them to participate constantly and creatively in it. Our sessions are always interactive and based on critical discussion. Criticism is always welcome and in all its constructive forms. In class, we challenge the rigid division that exists in other places between teacher and learner. We give agency to the students, positioning them both as critics and creative producers, fostering continuous dialogue and collaborative practice amongst them. Within the program, we give students plenty of opportunities to present, to disseminate their work through exhibitions and publications, and through writing in pamphlets, in blogs and books. I would like to invite you to check the work on our website, and I will leave the link of our master program, the website, in the chat. This is it. Thanks. I look forward to your questions in the Q&A session. And please do email me in case you wish to have a further chat about urban design at the DPU with me. Bye.
Hello, my name is Pascal Hoffmann, and I co-lead the Masters in Environment and Sustainable Development. As is quite common to our master's programs at the DPU, we try to bridge theory and practice. What does that mean in the case of ESD? Well, first of all, we are providing you with an understanding of key issues in a way where we really want to challenge seeing environmental problems as apolitical. These are not purely technical. They are not going to be solved simply by engineering or infrastructural solutions. So we're really also looking at the socio-political nature of environmental problems. And once this understanding is provided, we also really try to develop approaches how we can act upon these problems, providing you with valuable knowledge and skills for transformative change. And here we are really looking at multiple crises, including the climate crisis, but also looking at the continued loss of biodiversity and increasing pollution across different contexts. So we are providing you really with a critical, analytical, and action-oriented approach to planning, to policy making, but also advocacy, which is really, really important. What we equip you with is a range of transferable skills that caters for the wide range of career paths and destinations. Because applicants that come to study ESD, they are from a wide range of disciplines and geographic locations, and therefore also go on to take up various positions. And I will invite you to also check out a few profiles of alumni, and similar to Giovanna, I will leave a link to our program page so that you can look at that in more detail. I think what is also key here, because people come from such different backgrounds, is that we try to equip you with an international comparative perspective. And here we draw on a range of case studies that come from cutting-edge research and consultancy work that we at the DPU carry out. So you get first-hand insights into primary data that is being collected. You're being part of conversations as our research and consultancy work progresses while you are here, as well as from previous research collaborations. The program is structured as follows. You will have 3 core modules, and then you also have an opportunity to choose from a range of optional modules. The ones that you see listed here on the slides are just a small selection. These are the modules that are directly administered under the ESD program, but you also have an opportunity to choose from the wide range of modules that we have at the DPU and beyond in other departments here at the DPU, at UCL. What is really central to how our master's programs are conceived is not just the core modules that provide you with the theoretical basis and exposes you to key concepts, which in our case are a feminist political ecology perspective, environmental justice, as well as systems thinking, but also how this comes together and how you can apply that in a very practice-oriented engagement. And this we do through our overseas practice engagements, which we carry out through learning alliances. Next slide, please. We have a website, an external website. Again, I will share the link on this, which shows you the wide array of learning alliances that we have established over the years. So these are alliances that we set up with partner organizations across the Global South. This can include civil society organizations, academic partners, and others, where we craft terms of reference where then you as students work in partnership with our partners on current issues and problems in these contexts to then produce actionable knowledge and outputs that help to address these challenges in these varying contexts. So the latest learning alliance that we have set up is in Bogota, in Colombia, where we're working with academia and civil society organizations in relation to climate injustices. And the outputs that are being produced by students in partnership with these key actors are there to serve and achieve climate justice. So I will share the link. Please have a look. And you can see the work that we've been doing in terms of the topical focus, but also examples of the really exciting and valuable outputs that our students have produced. Next slide, please. This is just an example from one of our alumni from a few years ago to show you really what ESD can equip you with and prepare you for whatever position you decide to take on. And again, in the link to our site for ESD on our website, you will see a number of profiles from ESD alumni. And again, as Giovanna said, I'm also happy to be contacted directly by email. My contact details are available on our website if you have particular questions or want to follow up with regards to ESD specifically. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jordana Camalio, and I'm one of the co-program leads for the Urban Development Planning Master's Program. So to tell you a bit about this program, it's the longest running MSc within the Development Planning Unit. In essence, I think what our program is trying to do is to really critically engage with and in many ways disrupt traditional and kind of top-down thinking and approaches to planning. And we're doing that very much like many of the other programs with this real focus on developing planning strategies that are capable of promoting more socially and spatially, as well as environmentally just cities for people everywhere. So what I think you get specifically kind of from the UDP program is a real focus on urban change. So I think other programs are entering to the city through a specialist area of lens, we are considering urban development planning in general, and within that, paying a lot of attention to land dynamics, and to issues of scale that are playing out in terms of how people kind of engage with the city, but also the kind of key processes that generate urban change, and manifest in these sociospatial and environmental ways. Within that, you're going to develop an ability to critically examine theory and practice of urban development planning across these scales, and very much we try to ground you within what we call a Southern lens to think through different ways of approaching contemporary urban issues. And of course, linked to kind of practice module and the analytical skills that you'll be developing, you're going to build a capacity to catalyze collective interventions towards more equitable and socially just cities. And you'll be doing that in partnership with, with our partners in different parts of the world, which I'll tell you more about shortly. So what this means in terms of like what you come out with is really a critical approach to planning, and really harnessing different skills and methodologies that enable you as a practitioner, planner, researcher, whatever you go on to do, post MSc, with these skills to meaningfully engage with socioeconomic, spatial, and ecological inequalities in cities. And we're going to develop your capacities to plan through community-led processes in partnership with public and private sectors, and you'll be testing that out in the practice module. You'll be developing a transdisciplinary approach to the co-production of knowledge and action, again, working actively with local and international partners who themselves are very much in the front line of urban development planning in their cities. And you'll develop the kind of lens for thinking with and working across scale, from the neighborhood to local and citywide, as well as national planning initiatives. So who our course is really pitched at? To be honest, our current and past students come from all different career trajectories and disciplines. And we welcome very diverse kind of cohorts of students, which helps us to think creatively about the various challenges that the program engages with. So to give you an idea, we tend to have, of course, we've got people in planning. We also have a lot of people coming from architecture, engineering, human geography, from economics and marketing backgrounds. We have political scientists, sociologists, people coming from arts and arts history backgrounds. So think the background almost in many ways matters less than the interest in thinking critically about the city and urban change. And that's very much reflected in the students that we get in. And connected with that, we're very much open to professionals. And I think the MSc is really well suited to people who have had past work experience, and kind of it allows you to sort of think back to ways in which you've approached kind of critical diagnosis and development planning in your specific fields. But also, we really welcome people who are just starting to think through kind of how they can engage with urban change, as well as people who are considering career changes. So I'll touch just briefly on our compulsory modules and optional modules. So just to give you an idea, we've got 3 compulsory modules. That's the city and its relations, and also we have a course on urban development policy, planning, and management. And then you've got your dissertation, of course, and the practice in urban development planning. And as shown on the slide here, we've got 2 optional modules that sit within the umbrella of UDP. So that's gender and policy and planning, and transport equity and urban mobility. And so while you're very welcome to take courses within the UDP kind of umbrella, you're also very much able to step outside of that and take optional modules from across the DPU. Next slide, please. So very briefly, I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight, just like the other programs, into our practice module, which is in the UDP program, we engage into kind of action-oriented research projects in partnership with community groups and networks. So in term 1, you'd be working on what we call the London Project. And this is really where we engage in long-standing partnerships with local community organizations who are actively trying to shape planning processes here in London, in the city. And it's a really nice way for you to get a kind of, not just a foundation for thinking through some of the theories and ideas that we're introducing you to, apologies, but it provides a really helpful foundation for the practice engagement, which will be in terms 2 and 3. And that's where we work collaboratively, again, with partners in various countries outside the UK. For the past couple of years, we've been working in the Philippines, but prior to working in the Philippines, we've engaged with partners in Indonesia, in Sri Lanka, in Tanzania, in Thailand, Turkey, India, Ghana, and so on, spanning a number of different types of urban development issues as relevant to the locations that we're working in. And so there's lots of information on our website, and I will share a link as well, so that you can check out some of the past work that our students have engaged in, and also hear a bit more from alumni, such as, if we move to the next slide, you'll see this quote from Rohit, who was one of our students a couple of years ago. Our students go on to do lots of different things, and so if you have a look at the alumni profiles, you'll get a sense of the kinds of, career trajectories that they go on to do, and also get a feel for their experience with us at the DPU. So I'll leave it there. And as with the others, if you want to reach out by email, feel very free to. My contact details, I can share them in the link here, and they're also available online.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Alessio Coliolis. I'm a lecturer teaching in urban economic development, and one of the co-program leaders of the master program in urban economic development. It's really fascinating also to hear and get a refresh of what my colleagues and friends are doing in other programs. So I will tell you a little bit more about what is a bit unique about our master program. For some reason, I don't see that slide. Thank you. It's important to say that Urban Economic Development, or UED, is the only master program at the DPU which has a focus more on the sustainable and economic development. It was a master program that's been invented and created over 30 years ago, with the belief that while cities are really, really important to national development, there was and still is a lack of understanding about the economic features of cities. And so what we do is really think about how cities can be managed from economic perspective more effectively, more sustainably, and with equity goals in mind. So this is what drives our master program. And the course itself has been, restructured, several times over the years, but really our focus remains on policy and strategies for the purpose of promoting this equitable and sustainable economic development of cities, especially in the so-called developing countries. Our students, it's important to note also that 98% of our UED students have a good job within 15 months of finishing our master program, which in practice means I don't know how many of you are in this call. Yeah, so we are like nearly 50. It means that basically, if you all had to, if you all enrolled in UED, all of you would have a job within 15 months of concluding the master program. So we're really proud of that. But similarly to other master programs, our students come from a diverse range of countries, speak many different languages, and have a real mixture of experiences and skills. But they do have something in common, which is they often have worked or intend to work in the field of policymaking or consultancy, focusing on the city economy. And very importantly, all our students are keen to learn from development experiences elsewhere, but also in London, and feel comfortable in engaging in both theoretical and policy debates. Next slide, please. So what does it mean in practice? So practice is really one of our distinct and core characteristic of our master program. We have two very exciting live partner or client projects with a range of fantastic partners from public and private sector, but also development organizations worldwide. And our students engage peers and tutors and partner organizations to co-create some innovative approaches to addressing urban challenges, both in London and in an overseas practice engagement. In London, and here you see at the top of the screen a slide of a recent alumna who was presenting their findings at the partners meeting last year. In London, each year, our UK practice engagement brings together our UED students with a range of stakeholders involved in London's economic development. So public authorities such as the Greater London Authority or other government bodies or engineering firms, for example. And our students work together in teams as consultants to engage in fieldwork and address some of the most challenging issues that London faces today. And then this is the first part of the year. In the second part of the year, we have a range of learning alliances. So you've heard that every program has a different range of learning alliances and partnerships with a number of organizations. Since 2021, our master program goes every year to Mexico, and we've been focusing on a project around the Tren Maya. I want to put in the chat a link to a research video that it's the culmination of that long-term collaboration that we just launched a few days ago. I'm going to put as well a couple of other links related to the London project and our overseas practice engagement, so you can have a look at our collaborations and the projects we've been involved in. And finally, next slide. This is also a nice quote from Natalina, who did our master program a couple of years ago and now is working as a policy analyst for the Indonesian government. Just to say, to end with the fact that we also have a very active, very interesting current student and alumni network, which is a fantastic space for collaboration that we use a lot, and it'd be fantastic to see you there one day. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Oviedo, and I'm an associate professor here at the DPU, and I coordinate, I'm one of the coordinators of the dissertations module across all programs. I think it's important that as part of our overview of the different programs, we touch upon the master's level research that you will be carrying in the context of your different programs. This is similar for everyone at the DPU, and as part of that research work, you're going to be supervised by the but different of our colleagues, including those of us in the call at the moment. And it's a process that begins from the end of term 1, in which you're going to be thinking about specific topics related with the core of your master's program. But within that, we offer at the DPU a program of research fellowships, which is called the Development Planning Dissertation Fellowship Scheme, where we give our students the possibility to complete their work in a fellowship with different development organizations, either in research or in practice, working towards the resolution of real-world challenges. The program so far has benefited more than 300 students since it was introduced in 2017. If we move to the next slide, we have worked with partners in all development sectors across the global North and South. So you will find that depending on the focus of different research, we will be engaging directly with either projects we have been funded by the different funding organizations that sponsors the research that we conduct at the DPU, as well as our partners in practice. That means that when you apply for a dissertation fellowship, which is a competitive process, you're going to be proposing an individual research within the main interest and strategic objectives of both the DPU's alliance with the partner organization and the partner organization itself. And that's one of the key aspects of the added value of the fellowships, and is that in the case of DPU's master dissertation, because there is such, as you have seen throughout the presentations today, such an emphasis on practice, we encourage students to build on secondary data to develop the research, and the fellowships give you an opportunity of getting essentially fresh out of the oven data that you're going to be able to apply specific frameworks with the guidance of your supervisors and in conversation with the partners to produce not only a high level academic output, but also something that is useful for the partner in question. It could be a development bank, such as the Inter-American Development Bank, with whom we have a long-standing partnership, the Sierra Leone Urban Research Center, which was mentioned from the beginning of the presentations, but we're also working with organizations that are tackling specific development challenges, such as the Global Disability Innovation Hub, and also we have had different research projects, such as the Knowledge in Action for Urban Equality, which was a very ambitious research in which most DPU staff were involved for about 4 years. If we move forward to the next slide, there is also the opportunity for you to publish your dissertations. The DPU has its own working paper series, so selected dissertations that have achieved the highest marks have been published as DPU working papers and sort of contribute to our overall contributions to the academic debates around development, but also some dissertation fellows have gone to publish their research in top peer-reviewed journals in different areas, such as planning, environmental studies, and policy. I had a few quotes, but I'm not sure if those are in the next slide. I think there was a bit of a mix-up. If you move to the next one, I think the quotes are there, and then we need to go back to this one. So some of the anonymized experiences from the dissertations. So it's a learning experience that enriches the research process, and also it's another point for conversation, for guidance, for feedback. There is also something important, which is a connection with practice, and we have another 2 examples in the following 2 slides. It gives you freedom, so it gives you a framework in which you are not only responding to your interests, but also those of the partners, and aligning those efforts with something that adds value to data that perhaps we don't have the scope as part of our research to develop. I'm going to stop there and give you the space to talk about the development workshops. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I think we need to go back before.
Yeah, just go back there. Yep. Hello, my name is Cassidy Johnson. I'm a professor of urbanism and disaster risk reduction at the DPU. And I'm here today on the call to tell you a little bit about the development workshops that we run through the year of the MSc studies. So this is a chance for all the students across the 7 MSc programs to come together to look at specific issues and to develop skills in different things. So I'll discuss them a little bit now. So in the beginning of the year, which is the induction week, we have 2 development workshops that are half-day workshops that encompass all of the students. The first one that we had this year was on the urban dimensions of inequality. So we were looking at the concept of inequality and social justice and trying to understand what that looks like at the city level. And in that, all of the students looked at short films that had been developed, produced by DPU staff over the last years as kind of examples. And we looked at those things to try to understand what were the kind of dimensions of urban inequalities that we see there. We have a second development workshop in that first week of the induction week. The first week of the year is looking at the concept of decolonization, which is something that sort of runs across all of our teaching and all of our programs in the DPU. And this is run by Kamna Patel, and she's been looking at this. This is kind of her main research area. So this is a very interesting workshop also. And then we have also in term 1, we have a week-long workshop with all of the students in which you work across different master's programs. And last year's program was looking at ethics and positionality. Ethics is another aspect of research that we focus on a lot in the DPU, because we like to think about ethics as as a kind of basis for all the decisions that we might make as practitioners as you move into being development practitioners. And also, of course, our positionality. What is our position? Who are we in relation to the problems that we're looking at? And in this workshop, we do a role play simulation. We are looking at the Berbera corridor, which is an area in Somaliland that a few DPU staff have been working a lot in Somaliland over the years. So it's based on a real life situation. And we do a lot of role play in that week where you're different actors and have to think through, what would be your sort of strategic objectives, how you might negotiate with other actors and actually carry this out over the week. So these are just a short introduction to the different development workshops we have here at the DPU to try to bring together students across the 7 master's program on some of the key issues that concern our subject. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. So you've been hearing a bit about the DPU in general, about 4 of our specific master's programs in terms of the opportunities for learning and the way that we organize our academic programs here. But I'm sure you're also very concerned in what these mean for your future careers and your career prospects and the level of support that we can offer you in relation to that. So if you look on this slide, a little bit of data about this, 93.4% of DPU graduates were in work or further study 15 months after graduation. And we can see that DPU graduates are working very globally, reflecting our alumni, but also the opportunities gained through the partnerships and the career trajectories in 57 countries around the world. So the top industry sectors for DPU graduates are policy and government, so that's about 15% of graduates. And if you look at some of the areas that our graduates are employed, we have people in ministries such as the Ministry of Environment, Human Development and Cultural Affairs, but also working in more local government. We have people working in construction, built environment, property, around 14%, charities, NGOs, and international development, 11%, accountancy and financial services, and other scientific and technical professions. And we have people working in a range of institutions. So I mentioned some people working in government. We also have a number of people working in multilateral development organizations. So, for example, UNESCO, the World Food Programme, the International Labour Organization, and also international development banks, such as the World Bank or the African Development Bank, and specialist multilateral organizations. So, for example, C40 Cities, which is a network of mayors of cities working on climate issues. And organizations in the charitable NGO sector like the Wellcome Trust, Peabody, as well as in the more private sector consultancy area. So, for example, consultancies such as Arup or PricewaterhouseCoopers. And in fact, some of our graduates have even set up their own consultancies. And actually, interestingly, that was with groups of DPU students working together. So you can see a wide range of areas in which DPU graduates work. In terms of the sort of support that we'll give you, there's a range of different areas of support. So there's departmental level career sessions, there's events, there's an alumni networking platform, a consultancy project, and I can go through some of these in a bit more detail. So overall, as a student of the DPU, you're going to be connected with professionals, researchers, and academics who have long-standing careers in the development field and can share valuable and candid insights through events and networking. And as well as professionals, you'll also be benefiting from our alumni network through, for example, the alumni networking platform, which you can see on our website. And you can discover different alumni through a map and see where they are in the world and get in touch with them and see what they're doing. We also offer you a number of opportunities to connect with both alumni and practitioners through our different UK and overseas practice engagements, which you heard about on the 4 masters that we're talking about today. So that will give you the chance to work with different people who are active in the fields, particularly related to the MSc programs that you're looking at, as well as through events. So, for example, at the DPU, we have our flagship Dialogues in Development lecture series, where we'll get staff and their partners from practice talking about current engagements or research areas that they're focusing on. We also have film screenings, talks with academics about their research projects, and seminars and guest lectures with policymakers, local governments, and a variety of organizations in the field of urbanism and development. You'll also have, as well, when you're part of the DPU, also part of the Bartlett faculty, and you'll have access to a wide mix of faculty and department-specific support and activities to bolster your career development and develop your networking skills to successfully navigate job markets. And these are open across the faculty, and they include a program of lively industry panel discussions and interactive workshops, spotlighting the key sectors graduates typically venture into, such as construction, consultancy, commercial property, and urban planning and development. So I think if we go to the next slide, or no, sorry, before the next slide, just one thing to say specifically in terms of the career session and workshops, what they cover. When you're here, you'll have a range of specifically dedicated career support sessions beyond the wider networking and academic events. So these include a series of workshops, including how to make the most of UCL careers in your time at UCL. There's a session called Make Your Own Luck, which is about developing the skills to move forward in your careers, a session on interviewing, a soft skills workshop about relationships with your employers and potential employers, what's called a fireside chat, where you're going to get the chance to talk to key alumni about their own career progression routes and how they got there, and a workshop and Q&A on how to tailor job applications for the UK and international markets, as well as panel events at the level of the Bartlett, the wider faculty. So that's just a little bit about the kind of opportunities you get for networking across the sector in your time with us, but also the more dedicated career support that we'll offer you in your time here.